Okay, in this video we're going to go over the steps for creating a Python development environment on the cloud. Now, I'm assuming that you have set up a free GitHub account or a account on github.com, and that's what you'll need to set up your Python development environment. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and log into GitHub. And when I log into GitHub, you'll see something like this, similar to this. Now, GitHub can be used for many things, including Git repositories, but what we want to do is to use a feature called Codespaces. So let's go ahead and proceed with that. So you'll select Codespaces up at the top, and Codespaces is used to set up a development environment in the cloud. You can set up development environments for just about any programming language, but what we're going to do is use a blank template to use Codespaces for Python development. So we're going to select the blank template, and it's setting up Codespaces. We want to be a little bit patient while it's setting up the connections. All right, I think we're just about ready. Okay, so now we're looking at VS Code, which is the environment that we'll be using for Python development. And one of the first things that I set up when I'm starting with a new Codespace or a new VS Code is I'll go to the bottom left-hand corner and click on the icon that looks like a gear, and select themes, select color theme, and depending on how your desktop or your environment is set up, it will try to populate it with a light color theme or a dark color theme, and it's really up to you what you prefer. I tend to like the dark Visual Studio theme, and that's what I'm going to select. Okay, so I have my color theme. Next thing we're going to do is change the font size for the editor and the terminal window. And the way to do that is we're going to go back down to, on the left hand corner, bottom corner, select gear again. This time we will select settings, and then we go to text editor and font. Now, the default font size for the editor is 12, which is, for my eyes, too small. So let me increase that to 20. Now, this is all optional depending on your preferences for font sizes, but I just want to show you how that's done. Okay, this is going to change the font size for my editor. However, I need to, if you want to change the font size for the terminal window, which is down below, I'm going to click on this icon that says Open Settings JSON. So now I'm able to manually edit the JSON file that contains the settings for my environment. So we can see that the workbench color theme is Visual Studio Dark. The editor font size is 20. And now I'm going to change the font size for the terminal window, and that's called a terminal integrated. And if I scroll down a little bit, we should see font size. So let me select font size, and I'll change that also to a 20. I'm gonna make sure to save this. The keyboard shortcut is Command S on a Macintosh, and there's something equivalent also on a Windows. All right, so I'm all set now. My color theme is Visual Studio Dark, editor font size 20, terminal font size 20. Let me click off the settings. I will type clear to clear my terminal window. So we're blank. And now we need to do one other thing, very important thing, before we can start programming in Python. So we're going to go back now to the gear icon again, select that. This time we will select extensions, and it will come up with some popular extensions, And it turns out that Python is the most popular extension, and we're going to select that and then install it in Codespaces. Now, if for some reason Python doesn't come up, there's a search extensions in Marketplace search area on the left-hand side, and that's what you want to find and install. Okay, so now we have installed Python, and it's the Python interpreter and a bunch of other tools that are going to be very, very helpful, including code formatting. Okay, so now we're all set. Let me close the extension window. If I toggle on the extension icon on the extreme left-hand side of Visual Studio Code, that toggles off. All right, so now let's create a Python program and just test our environment to make sure everything's working. All right, so at the top on the left-hand corner, left-hand side, we're going to select Explorer. And this is the Explorer. If we had any files that we had written, they would come up and appear there. This includes directories. So this is a File Explorer window. So now I'm going to click on New File and give my file name a name. And let's call this Hello World. This is going to be my Python program that I'm writing. We'll give it the extension .py to indicate that this is a Python program. Hit return. And now I'm ready to type in my Python program. It's good practice to precede all programs with a comment statement. And my comment is just going to be, this is my first Python program in Codespaces. Okay, that's just a comment. It's not a instruction of any sort to the Python interpreter. All right, so now let's write our Python program. Now this program will be very simple. It will just have one line, print hello world, and that's it. All right, let's save this file. Command S, keyboard shortcut in Macintosh. It's probably something equivalent. Control S on Windows. I apologize, I don't know what the keyboard shortcut is for saving a file, but you should look that up if you're using Windows. Okay, now let's run or execute the program, and we can do that by clicking on the play button. It's called the Run Python File icon up at the top right hand corner. Let's click that. And if we watch the terminal window below, we see the executed code. So it's not reporting any errors, and we see the output, hello world. Let's add one more line just to verify things. And hello world, hello Alfred. So 2 lines now. Let me clear below. You don't have to do this. This is just for readability. I'll clear the terminal window below and start from scratch. Let's run this program now, our modified program, and as we can see, both prints out hello world and then followed by hello Alfred. Okay, so congratulations, we have set up our Python development environment. We've run a test program, a Python program to make sure everything's working, and so we're in good shape. Now let's kind of wrap this up by closing everything in an orderly way. And so what I'm going to do is now click on the menu, choose My Codespaces, and choosing that brings us back out to GitHub. This was our starting point when we logged into GitHub. Now notice something new has happened. This portion which lists our Codespaces was not there before. So we've created a new Codespace. GitHub has given it a random name called bookish space xylophone. What we want to do is rename that Codespace to something that makes more sense to us. So I'm going to rename this Python Codespace. All right, so now the name has been changed to Python Codespace. We can create as many code spaces as we would like. I tend to have separate code spaces for Python, other programming languages, a different one for data science, and then a different one for machine learning. But it's really up to you how you want to organize these code spaces. But for our purposes, for the basic Python class, you create one code space that you're going to be working with. Also notice there's some additional information about the code space. It has 2 cores, 4 gigs of RAM, and 32 gigabytes of storage. Also, you can derive other additional information. Very important that this code space is active, and before we leave, we want to stop the code space, because if it's active, it's taking up computational time, and GitHub gives a certain amount of computational time for code spaces for free, but if you run across the threshold limit, they'll ask you for a credit card so that they can charge you for it. Now, for our purposes, and the computational time resets every 30 days, and that tends to be quite enough for the types of things that we're going to do during the class session. All right, so let's stop the code space, and then we're all done. And let's log out of GitHub, and that will be the end of this video.